Out one, control the inner world, and the outer world can't control you. The world will test you every single day. Chaos will come knocking, storms will rise, and people will push your buttons just to see you break. But if you can rule your thoughts, you can rule your reactions. Calm isn't weakness, it's strength under control. When your peace doesn't depend on your surroundings, nothing outside of you can shake what's inside of you. 2, you can't master life until you master the pause. There's power in the pausetha moment between what happens and how you respond. Most people react out of habit, fear, or ego. But calm people, they pause, they breathe, they choose their response. Discipline lives in that gap. And when you learn to pause, you stop being a slave to emotion and start living with intention. 3, storms don't shake trees with deep roots. Anybody can be calm when everything's going right. But the real test is how you handle the fire, the failure, the betrayal. That's when your roots get exposed. So grow deep through prayer, discipline, reflection, and perspective. Because when the storm hits, and it will hit, it's the deeply rooted who stay grounded. 4, don't just stay calm, be the calm in the room. The world's already got enough panic, enough noise, enough people who lose it under pressure. Be the difference. Be the one who walks into the room and brings peace, not chaos. Be the steady voice when everyone's shouting. Be the anchor when everyone's drifting. That's leadership. That's legacy. 1, control the inner world, and the outer world can't control you. Life will always bring noise. That's not a possibility, it's a promise. There will be challenges, conflicts, heartbreaks, unexpected news, failures, frustrations, betrayals, setbacks, and all kinds of storms that rattle the windows of your soul. The question isn't whether the storm will come, the question is whether your mind is ready for it. The difference between someone who breaks and someone who bends is not how strong they look on the outside, but how calm they are on the inside. Calm is not weakness, it is not silence, it is not passivity. Calm is discipline. Calm is choosing to respond, not react. Calm is keeping your power in a world that's constantly trying to take it away. When you learn to control your inner world, the outer world loses its grip on you. Think about this. Most people spend their entire lives trying to control the external. They obsess over schedules, manipulate situations, manage other people's opinions, and fight to bend outcomes in their favor. They want the traffic to move faster, the weather to be better, their coworkers to be nicer, and their family to behave the way they expect. They want life to cooperate so they can feel peace. But peace that depends on perfect circumstances isn't peace, it's a performance. It's fragile. It shatters under pressure. And the world will never be so kind, so predictable, so quiet that your soul can rest without resistance. That's why you have to flip the script. Instead of spending your life trying to control everything outside of you, start building strength within you. That's where the power is. That's where the battle is won. That's where real transformation happens. When your thoughts are anchored, your emotions become your ally, not your enemy. When your mind is trained, you don't crumble at criticism, you don't panic in uncertainty, and you don't spiral when plans change. You breathe, you adjust, you rise. But this doesn't happen by accident. Training the mind to be calm is intentional. It takes practice. Just like you train the body for strength, you train the mind for stillness, and it begins with awareness. Start by noticing how often your peace depends on things you can't control. Notice how your mood shifts based on someone else's words. Notice how one piece of bad news hijacks your whole day. That's not peace, that's dependency. Your mind is not supposed to be a hostage of the headlines. Your emotions are not supposed to be puppets for every problem. The truth is, you are not your reaction. You are not your fear. You are not your circumstances. You are the space in between, the space where choice lives. And in that space, you have power. You can choose to breathe instead of burst. You can choose to listen instead of lash out. You can choose to wait instead of worry. Every time you respond with calm when chaos comes for you, you win. You may not win the argument. You may not win the approval. You may not win the moment, but you win yourself. And that's the most important victory of all. People who are calm under pressure aren't superhuman, they're just trained. They've learned to observe instead of absorb. They've built habits that protect their peace. They've spent time with their thoughts, questioned their patterns, and broken free from the need to always control the outcome. They understand that everything doesn't have to be perfect for them to be powerful. Everything doesn't have to make sense for them to be still. Their strength comes from what they've surrendered. Control isn't about having your hands on everything. It's about releasing what doesn't serve you. Let go of the obsession with being right all the time. Let go of the compulsion to fix everything and everyone. Let go of the fear that if you're not anxious, you're not paying attention. That's a lie. Calm doesn't mean you're ignorant, it means you're intentional. Calm doesn't mean you're passive, means you're poised. Calm doesn't mean you're detached, it means you're rooted. Your ability to stay calm is your superpower in a world that feeds on frenzy. When everyone else is reacting, you're reflecting. When everyone else is panicking, you're planning. When everyone else is losing themselves, you're finding your center. That's leadership, that's mastery, that's freedom. Think about the last time you let someone steal your peace. Maybe it was something small, a comment, a delay, a rude message. Or maybe it was something big, a betrayal, a loss, a missed opportunity. Either way, the feeling was the same. Your calm was taken from you. But the truth is, it was never stolen. It was surrendered. You handed it over. You gave your power to something or someone that didn't deserve it. Now imagine what it would look like to reclaim that power. Imagine what would happen if, instead of handing over your emotions every time life doesn't go your way, you held them, you guarded them, you grew them. That's what it means to train your mind. It means building boundaries around your peace. It means deciding that no one, not a stranger, not a circumstance, not a failure gets to live rent-free in your head. This kind of discipline shows up in the smallest of moments. It's in how you wake up in the morning. Do you let your phone dictate your mood before you even get out of bed? Or do you take a moment to ground yourself? It's in how you handle interruptions. Do you let one email ruin your entire flow? Or do you take a breath and return to center? It's in how you talk to yourself. Do you let doubt run wild? Or do you speak to yourself with strength and clarity? Training your mind to be calm is not about escaping pressure. It's about elevating your presence. You walk into stress with confidence. You enter chaos with stillness. You meet uncertainty with preparation. That's how warriors move. They don't just fight battles, they walk through them without losing their soul. There's a quiet kind of power in calm. It doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to prove itself. It doesn't chase validation. It simply stands. And in a world full of noise, that kind of stillness stands out. It speaks louder than any argument. It lasts longer than any trend. It outlives every storm. The world will always try to rush you. It will try to provoke you, distract you, pressure you, and pull you out of your peace. But when your inner world is strong, you don't take the bait. You don't follow the noise. You don't mirror the madness. You stay grounded. You stay focused. You stay calm. Don't wait for life to slow down before you decide to find peace. Train for it now. Build it now. Practice it now. Because the storm doesn't make you, it reveals you. And if you haven't prepared your mind, you'll find yourself panicking when you should be planning, reacting when you should be reflecting, breaking down when you should be building up. This is about more than just self-control. This is about identity. Who are you when things fall apart? Who are you when no one's watching? Who are you when the pressure rises, the stakes are high, and the outcome is uncertain? The person who has trained their mind to be calm is the person who walks through fire and doesn't smell like smoke. And don't confuse calm with apathy. It's not that you don't care, it's that you care enough to remain in control. You care enough not to let fear make your decisions. You care enough not to let anger dictate your words. You care enough not to let doubt derail your path. That's not being numb, that's being noble. So start today. Start by watching your thoughts. Start by sitting with your feelings. Start by choosing calm in the moments you'd normally choose chaos. When the traffic gets under your skin, breathe. When the disrespect makes you want to snap pause. When the uncertainty makes you want to quit, center yourself. Every time you choose calm, you get stronger. Every time you guard your peace, you get sharper. Every time you protect your mind, you rise above what used to control you. The truth is, your mind is the real battlefield. And if you don't train it, the world will. If you don't take control of your thoughts will take control of you. They'll drag you into fear, into anxiety, into reaction, into regret. But when you train your mind to be calm, you create space between stimulus and response. You reclaim your power. You live from your values, not your feelings. You lead from conviction, not chaos. This world doesn't need more noise. It doesn't need more people who explode under pressure. It needs calm. It needs clarity. It needs people who can walk into a storm and say, I know who I am. I know what I stand for. I know what I'm building. That kind of presence doesn't just change your life, it changes the lives of everyone around you. You were never meant to be a victim of your thoughts. You were never meant to be a prisoner of panic. You were created to lead yourself first, and it starts with your mind. If you want to change your life, start there. Start where the battle begins. Start where the power lives. 2. You can't master life until you master the pause. In a world obsessed with speed, reaction, and urgency, the pause is almost invisible. We race to respond. We rush to reply. We're pressured to act, to fix, to defend, to prove. We live like we're on a battlefield, always on alert, always ready to strike or retreat. And yet, the strongest, wisest, and most resilient people, the ones who rise above the madness, don't operate on impulse. They operate from the pause. The pause is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's that sacred space between what happens and how you respond. Most people never find it. Most people skip it. They hear something that triggers them, and boom, they react. They feel a surge of anger, and boom, they lash out. They get hurt, and boom, they retreat. They're living on reflex, not on purpose. But the pause, that little moment most people ignore, is where your power lives. It's where your clarity sharpens. It's where your character speaks. It's where your future gets decided. You can't master your life, your relationships, your career, your calling, until you learn to master the pause. Because if you don't master the pause, your emotions will master you. Mastering the pause means you become a student of stillness. You don't rush to prove your point. You don't scramble to be right. You don't panic when things don't go as planned. You hold steady. You observe. You take inventory. You ask yourself, what's really going on here? Because 9 times out of 10, it's not the moment that's the problem. It's your untrained reaction to it. You weren't made to live in constant reaction mode. You weren't made to be a prisoner of every emotion, a puppet of every provocation. You were made with the ability to pause, to reflect, to choose. But you have to train it. The pause doesn't show up on its own. It's not instinct, it's intention. It's a skill you develop, not a gift you're handed. Training the pause begins with presence. You have to be awake enough to recognize when you're about to react. You have to catch that internal shift, that tightening in your chest, that clenching in your jaw, that rush of adrenaline. That's the sign. That's your body's way of telling you, here comes a choice. And in that choice, you either build your future or you burn it down. Every reaction costs you something. It may cost you peace. It may cost you a relationship. It may cost you credibility. It may cost you time. The damage done in a moment of reaction can take months, sometimes years to repair. But when you pause, you protect your peace. You preserve your relationships. You increase your influence. You strengthen your integrity. Let's be clear, pausing doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing the right thing next. It's the delay that leads to wisdom. It's the break that gives birth to breakthrough. It's the stillness that positions you for strategy. The pause isn't passive, it's powerful. It's where discernment lives. It's where emotional intelligence is cultivated. It's where the real you gets a chance to speak, instead of the wounded, defensive, or angry version that shows up first. This is why some of the most powerful people in the world say very little in high-pressure moments. They've learned the value of not speaking too soon. They've learned that silence isn't weakness, it's a weapon. A calm mind leads to strong decisions. A pause before a response can change the direction of your life. And if you really want to grow, don't just count your wins, count the moments you chose to pause when you could have reacted. That's where real maturity lives. Have you ever said something in the heat of the moment that you wish you could take back? Have you ever made a decision in frustration that set you back months or even years? That's the price of skipping the pause. That's the cost of living untrained. Because when your emotions own you, they'll spend your peace like it's cheap. They'll spend your integrity like it's nothing. But peace is not cheap. Integrity is not nothing, and neither is your future. You've got to decide that your growth is worth the inconvenience of a pause. You've got to want to be better more than you want to be right. You've got to want to win the long game more than you want to win the argument. You've got to want to keep your vision more than you want to defend your ego, and that begins in the pause. The pause gives your mind time to process truth over fear. It lets you weigh long-term value over short-term satisfaction. It helps you separate facts from feelings. It trains your nervous system to operate under pressure without breaking down. It teaches you that urgency doesn't always mean importance. It empowers you to lead yourself first, before trying to lead anyone else. And let's not pretend this is easy. It's not. Everything in you will scream, respond now. Your pride will push. Your insecurities will scream. Your past will echo. Your pain will try to vote. And yet, if you're disciplined, you'll pause, you'll breathe. You'll ask yourself, what do I want to build in this moment? Who do I want to become in this situation? That's how legacies are built. Not through brilliance or luck, but through thousands of small decisions made in the space between stimulus and response. When you pause, you reclaim that space. And when you reclaim that space, you reclaim your story. You may not always be able to control what happens around you. People will offend you. Life will blindside you. Plans will fall apart. But what you can control is how you show up in that moment. That's what separates people who lead from people who follow their feelings. You will never stop facing moments that trigger you, but you can stop letting them control you. You can stop being a slave to the first reaction. You can choose calm. You can choose clarity. You can choose the pause. This mindset will change the way you handle conflict. Instead of defending yourself instantly, you'll listen. You'll evaluate. You'll decide if the argument is even worth your energy. Some battles aren't meant to be fought, they're meant to be ignored, but you can't see that if you don't pause. This mindset will change the way you make decisions. Instead of rushing to please, rushing to escape discomfort, or rushing to get it over with, you'll make space for wisdom. You'll invite perspective. You'll tap into that deeper level of thinking that only shows up when you slow down. This mindset will change the way you lead your life. You'll move with patience, not pressure. You'll operate from confidence, not chaos. You'll build from clarity, not confusion. The pause is the gateway to self-mastery, and self-mastery is the gateway to freedom. Because once you learn how to pause, no one can control you with their chaos. No one can bait you into a fight. No one can manipulate your emotions. You become a steady force in a shaky world. You become a thermostat, not a thermometer. You set the temperature. You determine the climate. You lead the tone. And this doesn't just apply to arguments or tension, it applies to every area of life. Before you spend impulsively, pause. Before you quit too soon, pause. Before you post in frustration, pause. Before you sign that deal, answer that text, send that email, or chase that distraction, pause. 1 second of pause can save you a lifetime of regret. 1 moment of reflection can redirect your entire future. 1 deep breath can silence a storm. And if you practice this daily, it becomes who you are, not just something you do. People will notice the difference. They'll say you seem calmer, wiser, more in control, but it won't be because the world around you got easier. It'll be because you got stronger. You learned to live above the pressure, not beneath it. You learned that maturity isn't reacting, maturity is responding with purpose. You've got to stop living like everything deserves your energy. It doesn't. Not every offense needs a reaction. Not every insult needs a comeback. Not every situation needs your full attention. But you won't know that until you pause. And the pause isn't about avoiding action, it's about aligning your action. It's about making sure what you do next matches who you're becoming. It's about refusing to let your future be shaped by a moment you didn't slow down to understand. You may not be able to slow the pace of the world, but you can slow the pace within you. You can pause long enough to remember your principles. You can pause long enough to ask better questions. You can pause long enough to make better decisions. Because the pause is not a delay, it's a decision. It's a moment of strength in a world full of impulsiveness. It's where the leaders separate from the followers. It's where growth separates from reaction. It's where purpose separates from pressure. If you want to go far in life, learn to pause. If you want to be respected, learn to pause. If you want to build something that lasts mentally, emotionally, professionally, learn to pause. Because the people who make the biggest impact in this life are not those who react the fastest. They're the ones who choose the wisest. And the wisest decisions are always born in the pause. 3. Nobody sees the reps you put in, but the results will speak. The world often celebrates the outcomes, the highlights, the moments where the lights shine the brightest. It claps for the victories. It posts about the promotions. It shares the celebrations. But what nobody sees are the silent reps, the early mornings, the late nights, the days when you showed up without applause, without attention, without validation. Nobody sees the grind in the dark. Nobody records the pain behind your progress. But just because the world doesn't see it doesn't mean it doesn't matter. The reps you put in when no one's watching are the ones that shape what everyone eventually sees. People look at successful lives and assume there was some secret shortcut, some special favor, some lucky break. What they don't see is the sacrifice, the discipline, the decisions to keep going when everything in you said quit. They don't see the internal battles, the ones where your doubts scream louder than your dreams. But still, you showed up. Still, you pushed through. Still, you planted seeds in silence, trusting that the harvest would come in its own time. The world might ignore your grind now, but the results will make noise later. That's why you've got to fall in love with the reps, not the recognition. You've got to marry the process, not the platform. Because if you wait for attention to motivate you, you'll burn out before you break through. But if you stay committed in the shadows, the light won't be able to deny what you've become. Results don't lie. They might take time, but they don't lie. They don't care how tired you were. They don't care if you were misunderstood. They don't care how unfair life was. Results respond to consistency. They show up for the disciplined. They reveal themselves to the persistent. They rise up for the resilient. And if you stay focused long enough, results will be your introduction. They'll be your resume. They'll be your voice in rooms where you haven't even entered yet. You don't need everyone to notice now. You just need to keep putting in the reps. The rep of waking up early when your body says sleep. The rep of grinding through your goals when your mind says quit. The rep of choosing excellence when mediocrity would be easier. The rep of saying no to distractions when it would be easier to scroll, easier to vent, easier to settle. Most people want the reward without the reps. They want the finish line without the fatigue. But the truth is, fatigue is part of the process. Discipline will demand more from you than comfort ever will. Comfort is seductive. It tells you you're fine where you are. It whispers that growth is optional. But discipline says, not yet, there's more in you. Push again, recommit. And here's what you need to understand. Your greatest transformation is happening in the unseen. Your greatest growth is happening where no one claps, where no one comments, where no one cheers. But don't get discouraged by the silence. Get focused in it. Because silence isn't the absence of growth, it's the presence of process. And the people who win the long game are the ones who train in the dark long before the light ever finds them. Think about the weightlifter. Every rep builds strength. Every rep conditions the mind. The victory on stage is just a reflection of unseen hours under the bar. That's your life. Every habit you build is a rep. Every boundary you set is a rep. Every time you choose growth over comfort, that's a rep. You're training your character. You're developing your mindset. You're laying down layers of consistency that no one can take from you. You don't need anyone to see your grind right now. What you need is the discipline to keep showing up. What you need is the resolve to build even when no one's clapping. Because there will come a day when the very thing you were doing in private becomes the reason people respect you in public. But it won't be because you chased recognition. It'll be because you chased mastery. And make no mistake, there's a war going on inside you. A war between the version of you that wants to stay comfortable and the version of you that's ready to rise. Every time you choose the reps over the rest, you tip the scale. Every time you silence your excuses and amplify your execution, you win ground. You may not see the payoff immediately. You may not feel stronger today, but brick by brick, you're building something unshakable. Repetition is how character is formed. It's how habits are wired into your identity. You don't become disciplined by doing something once. You become disciplined by doing it so consistently that it becomes who you are. You stop needing motivation because it's part of your DNA now. You don't ask, should I show up today? Because showing up is non-negotiable. You don't wonder, is this working? Because you understand that results don't always arrive on your timeline, but they always arrive on time. And here's the thing, every rep compounds, even the small ones, especially the small ones, that extra 10 minutes of study, that early morning workout, that journal entry, that extra sales call, that one more try. It doesn't feel like much in the moment, but reps don't shout. They stack, they pile up, and one day you look up and realize you're not who you were. You're stronger, sharper, more focused, more confident, not because of one big moment, but because of thousands of silent reps. This is what separates contenders from pretenders. Pretenders talk about it. Contenders train for it. Pretenders post the dream. Contenders do the reps. Pretenders get excited when it's easy. Contenders stay steady when it's hard. Pretenders need applause. Contenders need progress. You've got to decide, are you training to be seen, or are you training to succeed? You can't fake the results. You can't skip the reps. You can't cheat the process. What you build in the dark will either strengthen you or expose you. So build wisely, build daily, build deeply. Because the storm is coming, and only what's built on a foundation of repetition will stand. So how do you keep going when no one's watching? You remember your why. You remember that vision that woke you up at night. You remember that dream that won't let you settle. You remember that the pain of discipline is always lighter than the weight of regret. You remind yourself that you weren't born to blend in, you weren't made to coast, you were made to contribute, to break cycles, to leave something behind. And that kind of legacy requires reps. Your body may be tired, your mind may be weary, but your purpose is still intact. Your future is still calling. And every time you choose the rep, you're answering. Every time you choose focus over frustration, you're answering. Every time you say, not today, to the voice of doubt, you're answering. There's greatness in you, but it won't rise without repetition. There's strength in you, but it won't grow without resistance. There's leadership in you, but it won't emerge without humility. You've got to go through the lonely reps. You've got to endure the unseen work. You've got to trust that the sweat today becomes the strength tomorrow. Because one day, the light will find you. One day, the world will see what you've been building, and they'll say you're lucky. but you'll know it wasn't luck, it was reps. It was the decision to stay ready, to stay faithful, to stay locked in when others clocked out, to keep grinding when it didn't make sense. And that's when your life will speak. It will speak through your confidence, it will speak through your results, it will speak through your peace, and the world will finally see what the grind had been silently building all along.